What's up, everybody? Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas and the Pot at the Palace. We're going to preview this UCA game for this afternoon, but before we do, I'm going to take the media hat off for just a second and get human with you guys for a minute or two if you'll indulge me, and if not, that's okay. Just fast forward a couple minutes and you'll be right in there hearing me break down the Bears. But just got home from Bob Holt's celebration of life, hence the get up here. If you've listened to me at all recently, I think you probably know what Bob meant to me personally. Just a dear friend and a cherished friend who made me a better man and is going to be missed dearly. Already is. I want to publicly thank Matt Jones over at Whole Hog Sports, Wally Hall, Tom Murphy, all the folks who took a part in doing the legwork on what was just a heartwarming, wonderful tribute to a very special man. Could not have been easy with all the emotions involved here, but also I don't think it could have been done any better. So thank you, genuinely. It was just a wonderful, wonderful ceremony, and was really happy to be a part of it. I also want to take just a quick second here and say something about John Calipari. We love the banter in here. We really do. Anyone who wants to bust his chops for coaching decisions or press conference gaffes or whatever, fair game, be my guest, go for it. I don't want to see any attacks though on that man's character, not on this channel at least. I'll go to war for Coach Cal, and I'm going to have his back through thick and thin because of the type of man he's proven to be in such a short time here. Arkansas is preparing for a game. I'm recording this Friday evening. They're traveling over to North Little Rock today. Not only was John Calipari at Bob's service, he arrived early and he stayed from start to finish. And not only that, he came alone. He sat by himself. He never looked at his cell phone, never diverted his attention. It wasn't a PR stunt. It wasn't just making an appearance. He was paying tribute to a good man. I know this because I was about 10 feet away from him. He stayed, he prayed, he engaged, he laughed. He was fully involved in the moment. John Calipari is a good man. He's a man of faith. And in paying his respects to a man who meant the world to me, he's earned my unconditional respect and support. So thank you to Coach Cal. I appreciate you. And I know that Bob would have too. They had a slideshow of photos just of, different people who had experiences with Bob, throughout the years, some from his childhood, his college days. It was crazy to see. One of them that I was included in was from last year's game against Lipscomb in North Little Rock, where Bob was wearing a Santa hat. He was finishing his story. I was already done, go figure. And I was just kind of sitting there with my legs crossed, hanging out, waiting on him. We never left Bob alone there, even though he was usually the last one to finish. And I just think back to it, and we made that exact trip so many times together over the last several years. Arkansas heads back here on Saturday. Let's preview it. Let's talk about it. Arkansas and UCA, Fayetteville and Conway represented in North Little Rock for an in-state tilt. Sure, why not? Makes sense, right? The Razorbacks are 8-0 all-time against the Bears. They played them twice here recently. It was a 25-point win for Arkansas in 2020. They beat them by, I think, 37 in 2021. Prior to that, they hadn't played since 1947, so it had been a minute. But, we know the drill, though, at Simmons Bank Arena, right? I mean, awesome atmospheres year in and year out. The crowd's going to be electric, but nothing goes according to plan. We talked about it a little bit yesterday when we were talking about just avoiding that letdown moment. There's something to be said about the voodoo magic in that building. I don't know what it is. Arkansas has played there every year except for the COVID year since the turn of the century. They're 12-10 in that building. It doesn't make any damn sense. Here are your losses: Oklahoma State, Illinois twice, Texas Tech, okay, Appalachian State, what? Baylor, UAB, Houston, Mercer, Hofstra, what? They've won 6 out of 7 in fairness, but like the Lipscomb game last year that wound up being a one-possession game, the Valpo game a couple years ago, and in Musselman's first year where Adriel Bailey had to get that big block. Some of these have been way too close for comfort. It always tends to get weird in Simmons Bank Arena for whatever reason. So we'll see what happens this year. Let's talk about UCA. I mean, respect to those guys, obviously. I've got a buddy who's on staff who I used to actually coach against when I was at Lindenwood. He was at Lyon College. they're not very good this year. I mean, we don't have to sugarcoat it. 2-7 overall. Their wins are over Randall College, which it's a non-D1. I don't know if it's a Division II or Division III school. And they also beat UNC Asheville. But man, I mean, BYU and Utah both beat them by more than 30 early in the season. They do have losses to Western Illinois and SEMO in competitive games. Georgia Tech beat them by about 20. They just lost a fairly close game with Little Rock. So we know what Little Rock was all about. And then they just had in their last game, they dropped one to UAPB, which is one I'm sure they would like to have back. If you look at their, just like the Kim Pom page for UCA, 335th nationally in adjusted offensive efficiency. That ain't great. They shoot a ton of threes. What's interesting about them, they shoot a ton of threes. It represents half of their total shots. The problem is they don't make them. They're shooting about 27%. So a lack of production has not discouraged UCA from chucking the three ball. You just hope, like, for the people who say, man, it feels like every team Arkansas plays gets red hot from three. Well, you don't want that to be the case against UCA because they haven't really done it throughout the course of the season. You don't want your team to be the exception there, right? Interestingly enough, 58% of their opponents' shots come from three. That's crazy. And so they're giving up a lot of looks there. That's one of the highest rates in the country. I think there's only one team. I think it's South Alabama is the only other team that's allowing more attempts to come from three from the opponents. That's kind of crazy. So they're giving up some open looks, some quality looks. Teams are shooting 36.4% from three against them, which is about exactly what Arkansas's average is shooting from three on the season. So they're going to have plenty of open looks. We'll see if Arkansas knocks them down. So far, despite some of the narratives early on, and it was fair because they were not shooting well in the preseason, the first couple games, they've been pretty solid from three. So we'll see if this can be a game where they can continue to improve on that. Let's see, player-wise, shout out to Lane Taylor, right? The freshman from Farmington who's killing it. I think he's off to a really good start for a true freshman over there. Undersized guard, so he was under-recruited, but man, he was a prolific scorer at Farmington. And, like you come into the Atlantic Sun and in your true freshman season, you're averaging 17 points per game. He's shooting a ton of threes. I think he shot a dozen. He attempted a dozen threes in their game against UAPB, shooting it pretty decently in there. So a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. So a really nice little player. And I'm sure he's going to be highly motivated to be playing the Razorbacks. Elias Cato is another one to keep an eye on, a front court piece that I like. 6'9", 220 pounds senior. He's averaging 14.6 points and 5 rebounds per game. Kind of a stretch forward, like he can step out and shoot it. I know that he can put it on the floor a little bit. So another matchup where you look at, okay, who are the guys who are going to be assigned to him defensively? Adu Thero, assuming his health, will be one of those guys. Trevin Brazil will be another. So a matchup of note for those two. And then Braden Fagbemi is he's the other guy who started every game. Like the first two, Lane Taylor, Elias Cato, have played in all 9 games, started all 9 games. Braden Fagbemi is the other guy who has started every game, and he averages in double figures as well. He's super inefficient though, absolutely letting it fly from three. I'm talking multiple attempts per game, but he's only shooting at 22% from three. So hell, give me that green light, man. Like I would have loved to have a coach who would let me continue to shoot threes, and I'm shooting at 22%. But hey, he's averaging about a dozen points per game, so somebody to keep an eye on there. But this one, like it's about Arkansas though, right? I mean, we can all agree on that. Most of these non-conference games, whether it's at home or against the mid-major opponents, whatever, it's about the Hogs and what they're doing. How do you respond to success? Right? How does Arkansas handle success? Because they've kind of underachieved for a majority of the season, but then they get this big win over Michigan, a top 15 victory on ESPN, on the grand stage of Madison Square Garden. How do they respond to that? Like, you got your swagger back with the big win. Does that parlay into you just kind of blitzing an inferior opponent now in a blowout, wire to wire, like you should? Or are you going to be feeling yourself a little bit and start playing with your food again, like you were in some of those early games, right? We'll see. Like at a minimum, I would like to see Arkansas at least, kind of get rid of or flip the narrative on those slow, like ugly first half starts, right? They've just been getting off the bad starts in these games. Usually in the second half, they wind up figuring things out. They've been kind of a second half team so far this season. Put 40 minutes together against an inferior opponent, right? I'm curious to see what the health situation looks like. We mentioned Thero. I know Billy Richmond, I think, has been a little bit under the weather. Big Z's ankle. Are these guys still down with the sickness, or are they getting healthy? Has it spread to other guys on the team? You know how this stuff works. So I'll be very interested to see just the kind of the availability and how close to 100% Arkansas is here. I wonder about goals for this game, right? Like, obviously, just go win, right? Like, at the end of the day, however that happens, you got to ensure the victory. But, looking at some of Central Arkansas's numbers, like, what are some goals you can set for yourself? Like, can Arkansas score 100 points in this game? Why not? In a way, I feel like either that or maybe winning by 30 or something should be a goal, something to keep you motivated, something to keep you pushing for, because sometimes, like, this is kind of a letdown spot. We don't have to get into it too far because we talked about it yesterday. But kind of a letdown spot for Arkansas in terms of getting up to play, maybe a lesser opponent after having a huge marquee type of game. Motivate yourself, but also challenge yourself a little bit, right? Challenge yourself a little bit. I would love to see Arkansas just kind of come out and assert some dominance because they're the better team. A few things I wouldn't mind seeing, like Jonas Adu, maybe push a first half double here. I imagine he'll start. I think he's probably cemented back into that role. You're going to be in a game here where you're playing. You're going to have the advantageous matchup here. Man, get all over the glass. Let's see Arkansas getting into him a little bit. Find him in those pick and rolls a little bit. Drive the lane when help comes over. Dump it off to him. Let him go up there and finish it. Get him some back to the basket work. He's been a little bit rusty there. That's kind of the last part of your game that comes back when you're back off an injury. Give him those opportunities. Feed him. Force it. And see if you can kind of work him back into shape there. But I think this is a game where he could be pushing a double-double by the end of the first half. I'd love to see him get one at the end of this game at least. John L. Davis, we talk about it every single game. How do we want to say it this time? Like, just stop giving a damn about being a good teammate. What I mean by that is stop being so passive, right? You know what I mean? Let yourself go. Play, man. Get your shots up. Like, I think a goal should be, if I'm going into a game like this, obviously win, follow the scout, all those things. But individually, it's like, okay, Adu, go out there and get yourself a double-double, man. John L. Davis, put up double-digit shots. Take 10 shots in this game. Make that a goal of yours. And they don't have to all be catch and shoot rhythm threes, because he's been getting into the lane and deferring or getting confused and feel like he has to kick it out. Nah, man, just go get a bucket. I would love to see him take double-digit shots in this game. More mean Trevin Brazil, right? As aggressive and physical as he played at Michigan, carry that over in a game where the atmosphere is probably going to be pretty good, but just the physicality, the level of intensity and competition on the floor might not be quite as high as it was against Michigan, but that shouldn't change the way you play. So continue to make improvements for him, I think, would be key. But one thing I really, really have my eyes on, and something I'm probably going to write about afterwards, you really want to see some big contributions out of Carter Knox and Billy Richmond, right? These dudes have 3 games left. You got this game here against UCA. You got North Carolina A&T, and then you got Oakland. 3 games for those guys to really get settled in, find your niche, establish your role before things get weird in SEC play. Get rid of some of the growing pains, find some confidence. Carter Knox has slowly been building back towards that, as Billy Richmond has been maybe trending the other direction for the last couple games, right? For a majority of the season, it's been Billy Richmond who's been on the fast track, where Carter Knox has been trying to figure it out. You need both of them. You need all these guys. We said it a million times, you're only going to have 9. You got to have 9 good ones. And that means 9 healthy bodies, 9 guys that you're comfortable with their contributions. I would really, really like to see both of these guys get going a little bit. And hopefully they have the opportunities to do so in this one. So something I'm really going to have my eyes on. The other thing, obviously you want Arkansas to shoot well. You want them to defend well, guard the 3, all the normal ones. Limit those turnovers, man, right? Single-digit turnovers in this game. Get it corrected. They've been too high for a majority of the season. I think this is a team that dishes a lot of assists. They do a good job with that. Boogie Flan's been a great assist man for Arkansas this year. DJ Wagner as a secondary ball handler has been wonderful there. John L. Davis better as an assist man, maybe than even advertised. But they still cough it up a little bit too much. What they have 14, 15 the other night against Michigan. Against a team like UCA, there is no excuse for you to have double-digit turnovers unless you're just being a little bit careless, maybe not as focused as you need to be. So take care of the basketball, right? Value each possession. Those are the things that you're going to have to do in SEC. I mean, think about going on the road at Tennessee on January 4th. That's not that far away, about 3 weeks or so away. You think you're going to be able to get away with 14 turnovers on the road against them? No. And Tennessee's going to force some, but you gotta cut down on the unforced errors, right? The focus things, the sloppy things that you can control the controllables. I think it's going to be important for Arkansas in this game. So, Arkansas is a big favorite. They should win big if they come out focused, healthy, and ready to play and locked in. And then, you just got to overcome the voodoo of Simmons Bank Arena. We'll see what Coach Cal does in his debut down there. I know Musselman's was a freaking, it was madness against Valpo there. And hopefully Cal just has kind of a smooth selling victory. I know he already tweeted out that he was excited to get down there with the fans of Central Arkansas. The fans are going to be great, but I just hope you're not in the same situation as Muss was, where, at the end of these games in Simmons Bank, you're just like, what happened in here? And it's almost like you're baffled. Like, I don't know. There's just something about this building. Well, maybe they could just skip all that with Cal and go out and get yourself a nice little 30-point dub today. We'll see. But make sure that you tune in afterwards. The Pot of the Palace post-game show will be live. We're going to break it all down. We're going to talk about it all. We won't be getting run out of the building like we were at Madison Square Garden. So we'll be in the home office here and looking forward to chatting with you guys about it. So appreciate everybody for tuning in as always. Appreciate everybody for the support. Make sure that if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, help us out. Subscribe. Inside Arkansas YouTube page. Check out InsideArkansas.com for written content. And once again, thank you guys for everything, all the support, all the love. We'll be back after the game. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pot at the Palace. We'll see you in a little bit.